Hello friends. Welcome to Anhad channel, where we simplify difficult concepts in finance, banking, insurance, economics and many others. Today we are going to discuss a very important topic, initial public offering, or simply called IPO. We will be covering topics such as introduction to IPO, meaning and definition of IPO, objectives, importance, features, types of IPO, parties involved, IPO process, categories of IPO investors, USBA, green shoe option and FPO. An initial public offering is the process through which a private company offers its shares to the public for the first time and becomes a publicly listed company on a recognized stock exchange. By issuing shares to the public, the company raises capital for business expansion, debt repayment, technological development, acquisitions, or other corporate purposes. An IPO marks an important milestone in the growth of a company as it provides access to a larger pool of investors and enhances the company's reputation and market visibility. An initial public offering is the first public issue of shares by a private company to investors through a stock exchange. If any company requires money, instead of borrowing from banks, the company can issue shares to the general public through an IPO. After completing the IPO process, the company's shares are listed on a stock exchange, National Stock Exchange, NSE, or Bombay Stock Exchange, BSE. Investors can now buy and sell the company's shares on the stock exchange. Now we will discuss objectives of an IPO. 1. To raise capital for business expansion. An IPO enables a company to raise large amounts of capital from the public. The funds are used to expand operations, increase production capacity, or enter new markets. 2. To finance new projects. Companies use IPO proceeds to invest in new business projects, product development, or infrastructure. This supports future growth and business diversification. 3. To repay existing debt. A company may use the funds raised through an IPO to repay outstanding loans and reduce its debt burden. Lower debt improves the company's financial stability and profitability. 4. To increase the company's market reputation. Listing on a recognized stock exchange enhances the company's credibility and public image. It increases the confidence of customers, investors, lenders, and business partners. 5. To provide liquidity to existing shareholders. An IPO allows existing shareholders, such as promoters and early investors, to sell their shares in the market. This provides them with an opportunity to realize the value of their investment. 6. To facilitate mergers and acquisitions. Listed companies can use their publicly traded shares as consideration for acquiring other businesses. This makes mergers and acquisitions easier and more efficient. 7. To broaden the shareholder base. An IPO allows a large number of public investors to become shareholders in the company. A wider shareholder base improves ownership distribution and increases market participation. Now we come to types of IPO. First type is fixed price issue. In a fixed price issue, the company determines the issue price before the IPO opens. Investors know the exact price at which they will purchase the shares. The second type is book building issue. In a book building issue, the company specifies a price band instead of a fixed price. Investors submit bids within the specified price range. The final issue price is determined based on investor demand. Example. Suppose price band decided at 450 rupees to 475 rupees per share. One investor may bid at 470 rupees, while another bids at 475 rupees. The final price is determined after analyzing all bids. Now we will discuss parties involved in an IPO. Several intermediaries work together to ensure that an IPO is conducted smoothly, transparently, and in compliance with regulatory requirements. These stakeholders are: first is the company or issuer. The issuer is the company that offers its shares to the public for the first time through an IPO. It raises funds from investors for purposes such as business expansion, debt repayment, or financing new projects. Second is merchant banker or lead manager. The merchant banker, also known as the lead manager, manages the entire IPO process. It is appointed by the company issuing the IPO. The board of directors of the issuing company selects and appoints one or more SEBI-registered merchant bankers to act as the lead manager. It prepares the offer documents, conducts due diligence, coordinates with SEBI and the stock exchanges, markets the IPO, and ensures that the issue complies with all legal and regulatory requirements. Some examples of lead managers working in India are SBI Capital Markets Limited, ICICI Securities Limited, Kotak Mahindra Capital Company Limited, Axis Capital Limited, JM Financial Limited, and HDFC Bank Investment Banking. Third is Securities and Exchange Board of India, also called SEBI. SEBI is the regulatory authority that oversees the IPO process in India. It reviews the offer documents, ensures compliance with securities laws, protects investors' interests, and promotes transparency and fairness in the capital market. Fourth is the stock exchange. The stock exchange, such as the National Stock Exchange, NSE, or the Bombay Stock Exchange, BSE, lists the company's shares after the successful completion of the IPO. Once listed, investors can freely buy and sell the company's shares in the secondary market. Fifth is registrar to the issue. The registrar to the issue is an independent intermediary appointed by the issuing company to manage the administrative and record-keeping activities of an IPO. It ensures that the share allotment process is carried out accurately, fairly, and in accordance with SEBI regulations. It verifies applications, determines the basis of allotment, credits shares to successful applicants' demat accounts, and processes refunds for unsuccessful applicants. Sixth is underwriters. Underwriters are financial institutions or merchant bankers who guarantee the successful subscription of an IPO. They agree to purchase any shares that remain unsubscribed if the public does not subscribe to the entire issue, ensuring that the issuing company raises the required amount of capital. Underwriters assume the risk of unsold shares in return for an underwriting commission. Their involvement increases investor confidence and provides financial assurance to the company that the public issue will be successfully completed. Seventh is investors. Investors are individuals and institutions who apply for shares in an IPO with the objective of earning returns through dividends and capital appreciation. They provide the capital required by the company in exchange for ownership in the form of shares. Investors may include retail individual investors, high net worth individuals or HNIs, mutual funds, banks, insurance companies, and foreign portfolio investors, FPIs. After the allotment of shares, they become shareholders of the company and participate in its future growth, profits, and value creation. Let us now look into the IPO process. The initial public offering or IPO process is a systematic procedure through which a private company issues its shares to the public for the first time and becomes a listed company. The process involves several regulatory, legal, and administrative steps to ensure transparency and protect investors' interests. The process is generally divided into 10 steps. These are: Step 1. Appointment of merchant banker. The company appoints one or more SEBI-registered merchant bankers or lead managers to manage the entire IPO process. The lead manager advises the company on the issue structure, pricing, regulatory compliance, documentation, marketing, and coordination with various intermediaries. Step 2. Due diligence. The merchant banker conducts a detailed examination of the company's financial, legal, and operational position. This process verifies that all information disclosed to investors is accurate, complete, and complies with SEBI regulations. During due diligence, the following are examined: financial statements, legal documents, business operations, statutory and regulatory compliance, existing liabilities, corporate governance practices, and risk factors. Step 3. Preparation of Draft Red Herring Prospectus, DRHP. After completing due diligence, the company prepares the draft red herring prospectus called DRHP in short and submits it to SEBI for review. The DRHP is the primary disclosure document that provides investors with detailed information about the company and the proposed public issue. The DRHP generally includes business operations, financial statements, risk factors, promoters, management team, objects of the issue, industry overview, capital structure, and litigation, if any. The DRHP enables investors to make informed investment decisions before subscribing to the IPO. Step 4. SEBI Review. SEBI carefully reviews the draft red herring prospectus to ensure that all disclosures comply with applicable laws and regulations. If any information is incomplete or requires clarification, SEBI may ask the company to modify or provide additional details before granting approval. Only after SEBI's observations are addressed can the company proceed with the public issue. Step 5. Marketing the IPO. After obtaining regulatory approval, the company and the lead managers begin marketing the IPO to attract investors. Marketing activities include roadshows, investor meetings, presentations to institutional investors, advertisements, media campaigns, and digital promotions. These activities help create awareness about the company's business, growth prospects, and investment opportunity. Step 6. Opening of the IPO. Once marketing is completed, the IPO opens for public subscription on the specified dates. Investors submit their applications through ASBA or applications supported by blocked amount. ASBA is a payment mechanism introduced by SEBI to simplify the application process for IPOs, FPO, rights issues, and other public issues. Under ASBA, the application amount remains blocked in the investor's bank account instead of being transferred immediately to the issuing company. The blocked amount continues to remain in the investor's account until the shares are allotted. If shares are not allotted, or only partially allotted, the blocked amount is released accordingly. Investors can also submit their applications through internet banking, UPI, stockbrokers, or online trading platforms. The application amount is blocked in the investor's bank account until the allotment process is completed. Step 7. Closure of the IPO. After the subscription period ends, the IPO closes for new applications. The registrar to the issue collects all applications and verifies their validity. The total demand for shares is calculated to determine whether the issue is undersubscribed, fully subscribed, or oversubscribed. Step 8. Basis of allotment. The basis of allotment is prepared according to SEBI guidelines in consultation with the designated stock exchange. If the IPO is fully subscribed, shares are allotted according to the number of valid applications. If the IPO is oversubscribed, shares are allotted proportionately or through a computerized lottery system, particularly in the retail investor category. If the IPO is undersubscribed, allotment is made based on the available subscriptions. This process ensures fair and transparent distribution of shares. Step 9. Refund and credit of shares. After allotment is finalized, shares are credited electronically to the successful applicants' Demat accounts. For unsuccessful applicants, the blocked amount is released automatically in the case of ASBA applications. If partial allotment is made, only the amount corresponding to the allotted shares is debited and the remaining blocked amount is unblocked. This process ensures timely settlement and investor convenience. Step 10. Listing on the stock exchange. After the completion of allotment and credit of shares, the company's shares are listed on recognized stock exchanges such as the National Stock Exchange, NSE, and the Bombay Stock Exchange, BSE. From the listing date onwards, investors can freely buy and sell the company's shares in the secondary market. Listing enhances the company's visibility, provides liquidity to shareholders, and allows market forces to determine the share price based on demand and supply. We will now discuss the categories of IPO investors. To ensure fair participation in an initial public offering, IPO, the SEBI classifies investors into 3 categories. Each category has separate reservation quotas and eligibility criteria. 1. Qualified institutional buyers, QIBs. Qualified institutional buyers are large institutional investors with significant financial resources and professional expertise in investment decisions. They are considered well-informed investors and play an important role in the success of an IPO. Examples can be mutual funds, banks, insurance companies, pension funds, etc. 2. Non-institutional investors, NIIs. Non-institutional investors are investors who apply for shares above the retail investment limit but are not classified as qualified institutional buyers. They usually include wealthy individuals and corporate entities making large investments. Examples are high net worth individuals, HNIs, corporate investors, trusts, societies, etc. 3. Retail individual investors. Retail individual investors, RIIs, are individual investors who apply for shares within the investment limit prescribed by SEBI. This category enables small investors to participate in the capital market. Examples can be salaried employees, self-employed individuals, homemakers, retired persons and individual traders. During our discussion, we have come across a word many times which is FPO. FPO is follow-on public offer. It is the process through which a company that is already listed on a recognized stock exchange issues additional shares to the public to raise further capital. In other words, FPO is undertaken by an already listed company. Companies use FPOs to finance expansion plans, repay debt, fund acquisitions, meet working capital requirements, or strengthen their financial position. Instead of taking a bank loan, it issues additional shares to the public through an FPO and raises the required funds. Another term which is associated with IPO is greenshoe option. A greenshoe option, also known as an overallotment option, is a provision that allows the company and its merchant bankers to issue additional shares, usually up to 15% of the original issue size, if there is excess demand for the IPO. The main purpose of the greenshoe option is to stabilize the market price of shares after listing and reduce excessive price volatility. Suppose a company plans to issue 1 crore shares through an IPO. If investor demand is very high, and they subscribe for 15 lakhs extra, then the company can allot up to 1 crore 15 lakh shares. The greenshoe option is allowed in India and is regulated by SEBI. Friends, with this we come to the end of today's session on IPO. If you found this video useful, please like, share and subscribe to our channel. On this channel, we regularly upload educational content on economics, finance, banking, insurance, financial crime, GST, income tax, accounting, financial management, and investment management in a simple and easy to understand manner. You can explore the channel for more videos on these subjects. In case you want a video on any topic not in the list, you can write in the comments section. Don't forget to press the bell icon so that you receive notifications whenever we upload a new video. See you in the next video with another interesting and informative topic. Till then, bye and take care.